I've always believed that our family was strong, that despite the distance and the chaos of war, our bonds were unbreakable. But now, at 18 years old, I find myself grappling with a devastating secret that could tear my family apart. My mother, who has always been my rock, is having an affair, and I'm left wondering, how do I tell my father without destroying everything we've built? Our family has been through a lot. My father, Michael, is a successful businessman who stayed behind in our war-torn home country with my older brother, Jack. My mother, Sarah, and I moved to a safer country, hoping to rebuild our lives and escape the constant fear. My parents have been married for over 20 years, a union that weathered many storms, or so I thought. When we relocated, my mother quickly found a lucrative job, achieving a level of financial independence she never had before. She started paying for everything: rent, bills, my school fees, while my dad continued to send money, though not as much as before. He focused more on his business, believing his financial support was sufficient. Despite the distance and the reduced financial contribution, they spoke almost daily, and my dad seemed blissfully unaware of any problems in their relationship. It all started innocently enough. I came home from school one day and noticed my mom's phone buzzing with messages. Curiosity got the better of me, and I glanced at the screen. The messages were from her colleague, Mark, a man I'd heard her mention before but never thought much of. The texts were intimate, too intimate for just colleagues. As I delved deeper, I found more incriminating evidence: texts, emails, even photos. My mom was having an affair, and not just any affair. Mark was promising her a deputy CEO position at their company. It wasn't about money. It seemed to be about power, independence, and maybe something more personal. Now I'm stuck in a difficult position. I want to tell my dad, but I'm scared. My mom is my primary support system in this foreign country. She pays for everything, and I'm saving money to eventually buy my own place. If I tell my dad, the fallout could leave me homeless and financially stranded. For days, I wrestled with my conscience. My dad didn't deserve this betrayal. He was a good man, working hard to provide for us even from afar. But if I revealed the affair, the consequences could be catastrophic. My mom might cut me off financially, and I couldn't afford to live on my own just yet. I needed to find a way to tell my dad without destroying my own future. One evening, unable to keep it bottled up any longer, I confronted my mom. She was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, and I could see the tired lines on her face, the weariness that had settled in her eyes. I took a deep breath and asked, "Mom, are you cheating on Dad?" She froze, the color draining from her face. She tried to deny it at first, but I showed her the messages I'd found. The truth was out. She didn't deny it any longer. Instead, she pleaded with me not to tell my dad. She claimed it was a momentary lapse, that she was confused and lonely, and that Mark was just a distraction. I was torn. My mom's tears and pleas tugged at my heartstrings, but I couldn't ignore the betrayal. My dad deserved to know the truth. I felt trapped between my love for both of them and my own need for security. I needed advice, but I didn't know who to turn to. I confided in my best friend, Alex, hoping for some clarity. Alex listened patiently, then said, "You have to tell your dad. He deserves to know the truth, no matter how painful it is. But you also need to protect yourself. Maybe you can find a way to tell him without jeopardizing your living situation." His words resonated with me, but the fear of confrontation and the potential fallout still loomed large. I decided to wait a bit longer, hoping for a solution that wouldn't leave me stranded. As weeks turned into months, the tension in our home grew unbearable. My mom and I avoided the topic, but the elephant in the room was impossible to ignore. She continued her affair, becoming more careless. Late-night calls, secret meetings. She didn't bother hiding it anymore. One night, I overheard a heated argument between my mom and Mark on the phone. Their relationship was falling apart, and my mom was visibly stressed. She started drinking more, and her mood swings became unpredictable. Our once peaceful home turned into a battleground of silent resentment and unspoken truths. The situation reached its breaking point when my dad decided to visit us. He hadn't seen us in months, and he wanted to spend some quality time together. The news of his visit threw my mom into a panic. She tried to end things with Mark, but it wasn't as easy as she thought. The strain was palpable. When my dad arrived, he immediately sensed something was off. The atmosphere was tense, and my mom's behavior was erratic. During his stay, I could see the confusion and hurt in his eyes. He tried to reconnect with my mom, but she was distant, her guilt hanging like a dark cloud over us. One evening, after another awkward family dinner, my dad pulled me aside. "What's going on, Sam?" he asked, his voice filled with concern. "Is something wrong between your mother and me?" I couldn't hold it in any longer. The guilt and anxiety had eaten away at me for too long. I took a deep breath and told him everything. The affair, the lies, the deception. My dad's face went pale, his expression a mixture of shock, hurt, and anger. The revelation shattered our family. My dad confronted my mom, and their argument was explosive. Years of suppressed resentment and unspoken grievances erupted like a volcano. My mom tried to justify her actions, but my dad wasn't having any of it. He packed his bags and left, his heart broken and his trust shattered. With my dad gone, our home turned into a silent void. My mom fell into a deep depression, her guilt and regret consuming her. She withdrew from me, barely speaking or acknowledging my presence. I felt lost and alone, the weight of my decision bearing down on me. Financially, things became even more strained. My dad stopped sending money, focusing on rebuilding his life. My mom struggled to keep up with the bills, and I had to find a part-time job to help make ends meet. The dream of saving for a mortgage deposit seemed further away than ever. Months passed, and our lives became a daily struggle. My mom's depression worsened, and she eventually lost her job. I juggled school, work, and caring for her, the stress taking a toll on my own mental health. I felt trapped in a cycle of regret and responsibility, unable to see a way out. Friends and family reached out, but I pushed them away, unable to face their pity or judgment. The loneliness was suffocating, the silence in our home a constant reminder of the choices we had made. I missed my dad, but I couldn't bring myself to reach out to him. The bridge between us had been burned, and I didn't know how to rebuild it. Slowly, I began to accept the new reality of my life. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't what I had hoped for, but it was my reality. I focused on my studies, determined to create a future for myself despite the chaos. I knew I had made the right decision, but the price was higher than I had ever imagined. As I look towards the future, I carry the weight of my choices with me. The scars of my family's betrayal and the consequences of my actions are a part of me now. I've learned that truth can be a double-edged sword, cutting deep but also bringing a painful clarity. In the end, there was no happy ending, no easy resolution, just the harsh reality of life, with its complexities and its heartbreaks. But through it all, I've discovered a resilience within myself that I never knew I had. And as I move forward, I do so with the hope that one day, I'll find peace amidst the pieces of my broken family.